Okay guys, so back with another drawing. This time we're going to draw an exam question. So we're actually going to draw from Word. What I usually try to get out correctly in class and then draw it is basically written down for you guys to follow. So just sort of think of it like that. So we'll just look through a typical sort of exam question. Question 1, using a scale 1 to 10, provide a typical sketch drawing of a complete vertical section through a timber frame house with platform flooring supported by an external 110 brick perimeter wall on a 400 by 400 RC strip footing. Reinforcement is this, LTM top and bottom with R10 stirrups at 900 centres. That's pretty easy. All right, so that's one. It means that the timber frame comes all the way to the front, okay, all the way over, and there's a external perimeter wall underneath that. That's, as we know, that's going to be sort of a minimum of 400 off the ground line at least. And we've got some mention of an internal isolated pier, universal pier, uni-pier, steel uni-pier. All right, well, we remember what they were. We drew one of those. And just on a 400 by 400 by 200 deep concrete pad, no Rio, and they're at 1800 centres like all isolated piers usually are, and are in accordance to code. Your sketch will show vertically 100 millimetres below the pad footing and 500 mil above the finished floor level, so it wants at least 500 millimetres of wall frame showing. The drawing will include and clearly demonstrate required construction according to NCC, top of concrete pad, 75 below, universal unipier, minimum 400 in height, above ground level. Okay, so we know that. Platform flooring, all right. So that means particle board flooring. We mentioned it was a platform floor up here, so that means it goes underneath the wall frame. We're talking about the bearers here, timber bearers at 1500. Well, that's wrong. That should be something like 1800 centres actually. 100 by 75 hardwood to be shown in elevation. Okay, so that's the long edge. We're looking down the face of them. And the joists are at 450 centres, it should say. 100 by 50 hardwood to be shown in section. All right, so you're going to show every joist along the bearer, and we're going to have the cross hatch on those. Timber frame external wall, 90 by 45, seasoned softwood, permeable wall sarking. So we've got sarking coming down the front, standard plasterboard, so that'll be 10 mil on the inside, and a 66 by 19 internal skirting. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So look, no problem. We'll put that aside. We'll draw as the question asks. Let's kick off with the ground line first, and we'll kick off with a 400 by 400 strip footing, and we'll put the drawing together from there. Rightio. So there's a lot to get on. You can still go vertically if you like, but probably in this instance, I'd go horizontally with the page, drag the page to the horizontal, and just get my camera to focus in there, get something to focus on. I can't focus on a white piece of paper. Come up about, let's say about 60 mil maybe. Oh, sorry, no, we've got to get a 400 deep footing in here. So come up about 80 mil off the bottom of the page. 80 millimeters, and then just simply draw your ground line all the way across the page there. We'll do the footing first. We know that it's a 400 by 400 strip footing. We can mark that out here. We'll select where we're going to have here. So our footing's going to be here. Our wall's going to be straight up there. Come across. Let's find 400 up here. Just gently there, just to get it for us. We've got it there. Let's come down. Remember, we want to be 75 millimeter minimum below the ground line. Here's the ground line here. So we'll go down let's go down 500. Gives us, minimum is 75, but we went down 500. It gives us 100 mil below the ground line. Coming across now, it's a 400 by 400 strip footing. Take that all the way up here. Oh, that's looking a bit groggy there. We'll make sure that making sure our lines are parallel, our box is nice and square. Let's come up 400 and we'll cap it off where our concrete's going to be and finishing at. Don't worry about the backfill and the ground line. We'll rub all these right there. We can get rid of all these lines here. Get rid of those lines there. We can bring our ground line down. Because remember, we excavate, rarely ever get a totally square excavation, but we'll just excavate in like that. Put our steel in when we're down here, come down 40 millimeters, come in 40 from either side. Here's our top trench mesh going in. Same thing at the bottom, just repeat it, up 40, in 40 either side for a 40 mil of cover. And it's a 3T11 bar trench mesh, 11 mil bars, top and bottom. We've got those in place. Let's put our stirrups in now. Come inside, R10. Come up to the underside of the bars there of the trench mesh. Let's put a join there in our R10, making it obvious that is stirrups. Stirrups come like that, bent, and they have a jointed there. You could even put a little lace there and lace it with some steel. Make it look a little bit, a bit more substantial, making sure they all touch. Going over those, making sure our bars all touch. Reasonable to scale. Let's come up to the footing now. We'll find the centre. We'll get our external wall to sit on the centre and we'll mark it out. There's our centre. External perimeter wall, 110. Attach pier for that wall to sit the bearer on. Come across the 10 mil bed joint, or perp joint, sorry, vertical joint, and come across 110. We can bring this line right all the way up because we're going to mount the wall frame and timber floor frame and the wall frame on that. So we'll keep that line, get that parallel, get it parallel to your page, make everything look square and neat, then strike that line, come up fairly high. And let's come up, we're going to bring our external wall, we're going to bring it up, well, let's bring it up at least 500 off the ground line there. Yes, I'm going to find it there. I'll do my 110 wall first. Coming across, I'm doing my attach pier now and doing the outside of the attach pier on the outside there. External skin, attach pier. What we'll do is we'll gauge those up before we put the ant cap on. So what I'll generally do, and as we know, we're joined to 110 scale, 1:10 scale. So I'll reach over and we'll grab that gauge and just mark it off. I simply just put that on 7610 in the scale of 1:10 on a plastic template there and made my own template. Just make sure that you're at least 400 off that ground line, and you are. You're up 500. That's perfect. That was a perp there. We'll get rid of those other lines there in a minute. Let's bring that straight across. We'll mark all our brick gauges now. Brick, external skin, attach pier, mortar joint, bed joint, brick external, brick attached pier, mortar joint, and brick external, making sure you cross the lines. It's okay to cross the lines. And we'll just continue that all the way down there. Almost done, couple of bricks to go. Brick, external, internal, mortar joint. You've done it, and to be honest with you, that's probably the hardest part of the drawing, really. You can rub off the excess up here. All right. Now that we're up here, you can always, keep your drawing sort of moving along. Remember, you're backfilling around the attached pier. Put your backfill indication in. Not into the external skin. Remember, we've cut all the way through there. We've cut through the ground as well. You don't want to show that. Let's just put some indication marks that this is the ground line here. It's probably the simplest form of construction, the old timber frame on external perimeter wall. Don't go crazy. We're going to put another pier in here, remember. So again, you're just going to check that. Yeah, you've got, I've just got 400 on the line. That's okay. We can be fine with that. The first thing I'll do is I'd like to come down 40 here. We're going to indicate our ant cap. Make sure you come out 40 there and join those lines together. Thicken it up here, making sure it does actually go through all the way, but we've technically cut it off here because we've cut through this wall. So we'll put the hatching on for that now. Okay, so we know we've got a bearer in elevation. Okay, well, we can put that on. We can come up 100 as the bearer comes all the way over. And we'll bring that over the page with the break line in it. I'll show you why. So we'll stop there, about here, and continue it on. Down the bottom, you're still marking the bottom of the bearer now. Here's where we're going to draw the uni pier in a minute, but we'll finish off this timber frame. Yeah, put a break line here. And one here because we can't fit 1800 centres on this page. But we need to get all the detail in. It's a platform floor, but we'll put the joists on first. And remember, these are going to be shown in section. So what I like to do, and I'll show you the right way to do this, is we'll come out 90, come up 100. There's the tops of our joists. All right, we'll just mark that 90 line there. This way you get the joists in the correct position because it's a 100 by 50 joist, so you want to center that one directly centered under the end of the wall there, the edge of the wall frame. The wall frame goes back up like that, and then come back over here and put your other one in there. Make sure they're sort of about 50, but they're a little bit undersized. Now that you've got that, you should have this one here. As I said, centered under the wall frame. I won't put the wall frame on there because I've got to put a platform floor across it in a minute, but we've got to end up with a bit of a configuration like this. So this joist flush with the leading edge, this joist about at the halfway point where the wall frame starts. Once you've got that in, you can make it a bit easier for yourself. You can transfer the top of the joist all the way across in between your break lines. So you're going to where you're going to represent it over here. And then we know we'll put our cross hatching in. Remember, making it very defined. We're cutting through a structural member. We'll need some more joists. And remember that if we read through on the thing, remember it said 450 centers. So come to the outside, find 450, and mark your joists. It's just 100 per 50, but they usually always finish about 45. We can even keep going with that if we wanted to, but we don't know, with the 1800 to this pier here, so we'll just kick off and we can put some joists on over here, and we can maintain that 450 center. 100, finding 450 center. See? Sometimes it helps a little bit to use your set square when you're marking the hatching for a structural member. Just keeps it a little bit neater. So how's the time on this? Oh, we're going okay. We've usually got more than enough time to finish these drawings in an exam situation. Let's complete the timber frame. We'll come back to it. We'll do the uni pair next. So I've got a 19mm platform floor. So I'll just come up almost 2mm there, and we'll mark that to the break lines. Let's put the 90 by 45, so find 90 again. Wall frame in place. Remember he said he wanted it about 500 at least above the finished floor level. We can come up a little further than that if we wanted to. Put a break line up there. Might just put the plate there while we're here and complete the wall frame. And we'll cross hatch that. Now, as you work your way back down the drawing, we're going to come over here and do the pier now. Just double check that you see and you'll see that I've actually left the damp course out of there. Always put a damp course under your ant capping to prevent the ant capping rusting out. Get back to the wall frame. Remember, we've got gyprock and skirting to go on here, and we've got some permeable wall sarking. We'll put that on in a moment. Let's come over here where things get really interesting, and what we're going to do here is we're going to draw the uni pier. So we can find a section here, we can clear away some ground line. And we know that we wanted at least 75 millimeter down off the ground for the top of both the footing and the pad footing from the ground line. I'd come down 100. Let's go down 200. And they're 400 by 400 by 200 deep pads. So I come down off the ground line 100 mil there. Bit of a trick. We can finish that all off now if we like. Finish off the ground line. Put some concrete in our pad. We forgot to put concrete in the strip footing over here. Star triangles with dots. Come to the center of your pad. You remember that the uni-pier base was something like 150. So you come 75 off the center and then find 150 this way. Come up 10 mil. Remember they had a 10 mil by 150 base plate? You put the base plate on. Remember they had bolts. Some hidden details for the 12 mil galvanized dynabolts. Find the center of that. And remember they had a 65 millimeter stem. So we'll come back a full 3 millimeter either side. What I mean by full 3 millimeter is 3 millimeter plus. And that stem, let's just draw that faintly for the moment, as it breaks into hidden detail. Then we remembered that they had a 2 millimeter, a 200 mil deep. Sometimes they, no, 150. Yeah, 150 millimeter deep telescopic head that fitted over the top of the stem. And we won't be able to see where it connects this time because it's actually back here. We can put some, we can't really put bolts in there in hidden detail showing that where the connection is. The plate goes up behind it this time. So we just run that up. Actually, no, you wouldn't yet. I'm just trying to think. No, you will see that. That instance. So the plate is actually behind the bearer in this instance. We'll put the two locking screws in though. We can lock them that way, and we can finish the hidden detail of the stem on the head. Once again, we can draw uni-pier ant cap, and it was exactly the same as the other one, just 40 mil protrusion all the way around. Should have made him look a little bit big, as big as that one. We can easily fix that mistake though. We can just make it look a bit bigger there. And that's okay. clean that up a little bit. Why not? Won't take a second. Yeah, that looks a bit better. That wasn't quite 40mm at all. And we'll get that screw out of there. Let's put that locking screw in here where it's supposed to go. There's our uni-pair in place. All right, well, we're almost there. If we look back, I think all we wanted after that is just after the, yeah, what have we got here? Timber skirting, standard plasterboard, wall sarking on the outside, permeable wall sarking. Okay, well, we can easily do that in freehand, just by marking some hidden detail down the wall frame, all the way down the timber. Now, when we look at the end cap, look, realistically, in most cases, most people will want that trimmed off, but it's not a very good idea. So we'll complete that ant cap there. I'll make that a bit deeper. Always making them a little too shallow. And we'll just make sure the sarking runs over it a little bit. Now cladding will sit on there and be fixed onto that wall. Then we can finish it off. We've got some 10mm plasterboard on the inside here. Try to keep that just a millimetre. Made that a little bit big. We'll pretend it's 16mm fire check. 66, I think it was, skirting. And we'll just make it a bull nose, bring that down. Complete that skirting. Notice how I've left a little bit of clearance under there, 10mm clearance for the plasterboard. Don't bring the plasterboard all the way to the floor. When the floor goes up, won't put pressure on the plasterboard, or won't pop the nails on the plasterboard. Things will move around in there. Base plate will shrink a little bit. The joists will shrink a little bit. That'll bring that down a bit. Or they could gain a bit of moisture and expand it. And if that touches the plasterboard, it can start popping the nails if there's no clearance there. That's very important to remember. Other than that, that's basically the drawing here. We can put some backfill back over here. Left that off around the uni-pier there. The correct hatching for backfill is close free-handed parallel lines. Now, as for labeling, well, guys, I'd simply just basically just label as you've read off the drawing. Just, you're looking here, 400 by 400 strip footing, label that, label the reinforcement in it, label the external wall, the attached pier, all these components here. Keep the labeling neat, keep it all in a straight line. Try not to get your pointing lines crossing each other. Same with the uni-pair. Mark, dimension your centers, or mention the centers, mention that this component here, mention what centers it's sitting at, the relevant codes, and you shouldn't have any problem. Okay, thanks very much, and hope to see everybody very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.